Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. So with Black Ops 6 not only getting a brand new map, The Tomb, and also a couple of brand new guns with this season and some balance patches, we are back with another top 13 of the best pack-a-punched weapons right now in Black Ops 6 Zombies that will probably be the meta for some time to come, or at least until DLC 3 comes out. But The Tomb has already presented us with a number of new challenges that kind of change the meta and demand something a little bit different from us than what the previous maps have. So the meta has definitely shifted a little bit, but these are going to be the 13 best pack-a-punch weapons right now after all of the new patches in Black Ops 6 Zombies. So starting off here at number 13 is the Fang LMG. This is a brand new weapon that weirdly is in the LMG class, but I actually feel like deserves to be in a category of its own because it's essentially a cross between an assault rifle and an LMG. It's not really a true light machine gun in terms of having a giant magazine capacity, really low mobility, and even a high fire rate. In fact, it's kind of the opposite of that. However, I think it has the strengths of both of these respective classes, and with this build, you're able to have a weapon that fires faster over time. That's the unique pack-a-punch ability to the Fang, is that it's kind of the opposite of the hammer, if you remember back in Black Ops 2, where that weapon would start out firing quicker and then slow down for better recoil. This weapon starts slow, but picks up speed as you sustain fire, so that can be really nice for like holding down a spot and spraying down hordes, or even shooting at the Sentinel artifact in the boss fight in the Tomb. So there's a lot of really good versatility that this weapon has, and even though I don't think it's necessarily top 5 or anything, it is a very good weapon and certainly usable in the meta. Coming in at number 12 is a weapon we haven't talked about for a long time, and it's always just been in the background as a consistent option, but this is the ASG shotgun, and I have changed my build on this a little bit. Turns out this is actually a very viable weapon on the Tomb, most particularly in the boss fight, but because of also the enemy selection that the Tomb has, and the fact that it's a much more smaller and cramped map, meaning this shotgun is going to, succeed at the ranges that you're presented by. So I have changed the build just a little bit to kind of do well in the boss fight. You can either have these incendiary shells or you can have rapid fire. Honestly, it doesn't matter too much. I would overall recommend the Dragon's Breath shells most likely, but you can get away with rapid fire just fine. Either way, it's a very consistent pick. It's also incredibly easy to use, and that's one of the biggest advantages. There's not really any kind of skill gap to mastering this weapon. It's kind of just spray and pray, and that works for a lot of the cases in BO6, and it's an all-around good weapon for every map right now. Coming in at number 11 are the Saug Akimbos, and while these have a ton of potential, I think with the very specific unique challenges that the Tomb provides, I don't know if the Saugs are necessarily like top 1 in this capacity, but they are definitely usable on this map. You can do the entire main quest, you can survive high rounds with the Saug Akimbo. However, the one thing I will point out, the biggest flaw in these weapons is that it runs out of ammo way too quickly. Even if you have extended mag 2 and everything, I've actually changed this build a little bit, and if you take off the suppressor, right, if you're not going for extra salvage, let's say you're going into the map with a hidden power, so your gun's already gold rarity and you don't need the salvage, this muzzle attachment actually makes the hip fire much more controllable, and you're able to get critical shots in a far more consistent manner, making this weapon feel so much nicer. So I would strongly recommend taking off the suppressor and putting on a different muzzle just to control that vertical recoil a little bit. I think it really does pay off, but even so, it's still not an amazing weapon, mostly just because of its ammo issues, but it's still really strong regardless. Coming in at our number 10 spot is the brand new PPSH, an absolutely legendary gun in Zombies. Is it legendary in BO6? I mean, kind of. It's alright, like, it's decent. Unfortunately, I cannot say it's honestly as strong as I would like it to be. I wish it was kind of like World at War, where it was like easily one of the best bullet weapons in the game. That's not really true here. I would say it feels a lot more like the Cold War Zombies PPSH, meaning it's fine and it's even above average, but Treyarch even had a patch recently to buff the PPSH, but despite that, I still don't think it's in my top 5. It's super fun to use and it is good, but I mean, it's not quite the PPSH that we want it to be from World at War. Again, it's like the Cold War one, and while my build might not be the prettiest looking PPSH build, I think this is probably going to be the most effective, so I would advise this. You can, again, do the entire main quest on the Tomb, and it's perfectly viable there, but I think there are better SMG options. Coming in at number 9 is the Frostline sniper rifle, and lads, I finally did it. I finally settled on a build that I feel like I'm happy with. Once again, assuming I'm using hidden power or something, I'm removing the suppressor to get extra salvage, and I'm putting on a first shot recoil compensator here, and that makes a big difference for this weapon, particularly with follow-up shots. And the good thing about the Tomb is that there really isn't any armored special enemies, shots, because the biggest weakness of this weapon is hitting armor or non-critical shots. But all of the enemies in this, minus the regular armored zombies, have critical points available at all times, so you can really shred and take advantage with this Frostline. I think, you know, with the release of the Tomb, it kind of inadvertently buffed the sniper, and it's excellent now. Obviously, this is one of the highest skill weapons in the game to use, very high risk, high reward, so I can't say it's for everybody. However, if you pair it with the ice staff, this actually makes a very potent combination, because the ice staff is incredible at crowd control, whereas the, you know, Frostline is great for nailing critical points on enemies far away and being extra precise. So they're an excellent combo, and I definitely would recommend the sniper. Coming in at number 8 is the Krig C, and once again, I've adjusted this build slightly to try to squeeze even more effectiveness out of this if I can, and I think I've basically optimized this build. The Krig is really good for anything in the Tomb, and it's similar to the PPSH, where it can kind of, you know, just be a one-size-fits-all weapon, but I think the Krig is a little bit more specialized at that and just simply better. I think ARs tend to have an overall advantage compared to most SMGs in the game. That's not always true, but it feels like on average they are, and the Krig C has become one of the best ARs in the whole game and extremely easy to use as well. Not a whole lot to say about this one, just consistent, good, easy, like it's everything you want in an assault rifle and just really a zombies gun in Black Ops 6. I think it's going to be good for the rest of the year. It'll be good in every map and just an all-arounder consistent weapon. Moving over to number 7 is the KSV, a weapon I've been paying a lot more attention to recently, and just like the Krig, I've optimized the build to just really squeeze every ounce of meta that I can out of it, and it's certainly uglier visually compared to my other build, but damn it if it's not more effective. So taking off the suppressor and putting on a different muzzle allows this weapon to be really effective for shooting precise points, which is traditionally a weakness of fast-firing SMGs, and if you can negate that even a little bit, you can dump out damage, you can out DPS the Sentinel artifact. Like, I know a lot of people are struggling on the Tomb's boss fight. If you still are, consider running the KSV. I had some of my easiest runs using this weapon because not only is it very good for stopping, and it has just a ton of stopping power for those special enemies, and it absolutely shreds the Sentinel artifact. And it has a fantastic magazine capacity and an insanely quick reload, meaning there's not a whole lot of downtime where you're going to be caught out maybe with the Sentinel artifact and you have to reload or something, which really sucks. That's a problem with a lot of LMGs, and so the KSV is kind of like that damage without having to sacrifice the reload time. It's great. I cannot recommend it enough. Coming in at number 6 is the GS45 pistols. The build has not changed at all, but just in case you need it, I'll have it right here for you. However, the problem is I do think the GS45s have been nerfed to some degree. Now, I don't mean Treyarch literally went in the game and nerfed the damage or anything, but number 1, they don't appear on the Tomb as a buyable weapon, so you have to physically bring them in, but the problem is they don't really do anything in the boss fight. Like, these are not a good boss weapon whatsoever for this map. I think the ice staff is perfectly suited for crowd control, and in a lot of ways that replaces the strengths of the GS45s. You may not even need Mustang and Sally for the Tomb. Like, it's not super recommended, even though it really does shine on all of the other maps. I think it's kind of irrelevant on the Tomb. You don't need it in the boss. There's, again, plenty other weapons that can damage the Sentinel artifact. These are kind of useless there. While they're still good all around the other maps in the game, I don't recommend these for playing the Tomb. Getting into our top 5, we have some interesting guns here. The number 5 spot is going to the SVD, an absolute consistent classic that has been on every single one of my lists, and I think my build is just about the same, although I will say the SVD is, you know, maybe not made for the Tomb specifically, but it might as well be. This will deal damage to the Sentinel artifact, and quite a lot of it. It will also have a ton of stopping power for the enemies that are in that fight, and again, the best aspect is the fact that it acts as both a sniper and a shotgun, and especially in this boss fight, there are times that you want a shotgun type weapon and something for close quarters combat, and there's sometimes that you want to nail a precise point far away, and in that specific arena, it's like the SVD was quite literally designed for this. It's one of the better guns you can use, and the problem is it is a definitely more high skill, high reward weapon. As good as the SVD is, it is quite punishing if you miss, and that can mean life or death in this boss fight, so I would only really advise using it once you're kind of familiar and confident enough with that boss. But even if you're just trying to survive in high round or just mess around and do whatever, the SVD is always going to be a great pick, and I think this build is just about as optimized as I can make it right now. Coming in at number 4 is the Sirin 9mm, the only weapon type in Black Ops 6 still that falls under the special weapon category. Although if you had to compare it to something, I would compare it to an SMG. It's basically like the FMGs from Modern Warfare 3, the original one, and you would think that maybe they wouldn't do a whole lot of damage, but this gun is absolutely insane. For some reason, a lot of like the small caliber bullets in Black Ops 6 Zombies are just absolutely cracked. I don't know why, but the other great thing about the Sirin is that it has virtually no recoil. It's very easy to use, and you don't have to invest a whole lot of time in it to get all of the attachments. I mean, there's like 7 total attachments for the weapon, period, and you know, you basically have like one option per slot. There's not a whole lot of customization you can do on this weapon. You can have a little bit of a red dot, or you can have iron sights or whatever, but really it doesn't matter what you pick. This gun is just good coming right out of the box. You don't need to, you know, put a whole lot of time and effort into leveling it up or anything like you do a lot of these other guns on the list. So this is a good starter just to kind of get into and comfortable with the game. I would recommend you use this if you've got it. Coming in at number 3 is a brand new gun that just got added that you should absolutely go and level up and get it to its full potential. This is the Cypher 091. It is genuinely insane. This is an assault rifle that I truly think beats out almost every other one on this list, and it actually shocked me how good it was. The real secret sauce to this weapon, however, is the fact that the CHF barrel specifically gives this weapon a 20% damage increase when hitting criticals, and that is massive, especially when combined with a lot of good dead shot augments. So the other advantages is that it has a very quick and snappy ADS speed, even with no attachments at all. It's a very mobile weapon. It's got great handling just right out of the box with no attachments, and it is also not the fastest firing AR, but the bullets hit like an absolute train, and it's truly crazy. Of all of the new guns that got added to Bo6 with Season 2, this is by far like the best brand new one that's also just incredibly consistent and easy to use. I think this is right now almost the AR king, but we do have to talk about our number 2 spot, which is the AS Val. This, I think, right now is still the true AR king in Black Ops 6, and while I don't think it's quite as effective on the tomb as it is on maps with like armored enemies, because faster firing weapons tend to do better against armor, but this one still does great against elites, armored enemies, even the boss fight. Like it can do anything, and it can do anything on any map. It's really strong, and it's very easy to use. It's got a bit more high recoil than something like the Cypher, or honestly most assault rifles in the offering to begin with, but these weapons tend to mitigate that. And also, the cool thing is you have a built-in suppressed CHF barrel already, so all you need to do is pair a good optic on it, and if you're hitting criticals, then you are melting everything you come across. But ladies and gentlemen, coming to the number 1 spot on the list, I'm gonna have to do it. I'm gonna say that this is the new AMR Mod 4, aka the Barrett 50 cal. This was a previous top 5 on my last list, but the more I use it, and especially in this map, the more I'm like, dude, this might be the best gun Zombies has ever gotten. With that being said, it's also one of the riskiest guns to use, and it honestly does not feel like a good weapon until you pack-a-punch it, because the ADS speed goes drastically up, as does the fire rate, and this is the absolute best build you can have. It's very steady, and you can fire it super quickly, and just look like you can melt the Sentinel artifact. It makes this boss fight absolutely trivial, and you can annihilate the elite and special enemies that are in that. It's essentially kind of built for this boss fight. I will say this is not the best gun for crowd control per se. It's a little bit better than something like the Frostline, but again, you can pair it with the ice staff and take care of that problem very easily. This is great for shredding special enemies, which is exactly what you need to be doing in the tomb. I cannot recommend this enough. A lot of people, I think, just wrote off this weapon and didn't even give it a try, but please invest in this weapon, give it a go, and see what you think. Don't judge it until you've at least pack-a-punched it, and then see how you feel. But it's made the tomb an absolute breeze for me, and I think it's probably the map I'm going to take into the mansion when that comes out as well. I have to be honest, like, it's great. Again, it's a very high risk, high reward weapon, but still, I think that reward is certainly well worth it. But I hope you guys did enjoy this. Leave a like on the video, subscribe if this helped you at all, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace, guys.